Why permaculture? So you just described all these crises, situations. Why permaculture? Well, here's why. I would say that it builds resiliency in communities and families. This is huge. This is a family, a community that is resilient, in other words, that can handle shock, that can deal with crisis, is strong and is free. If you are a slave to that system that I just described, you're not free. You may think that you're free to some extent, but you are not. So we need to build resiliency in our families and our communities. Permaculture will help us to do that. And I say that here, self-sufficiency is freedom. Okay? So when we can grow our own food, for example, when we can obtain our own water, we are free. And if we cannot do those things, we're not. Permaculture moderates the impact of crisis. This is huge. When we think about financial crisis, when you think about food crisis, when you think about energy, if we have systems in place that can moderate those things, then we have moderated the actual crisis itself. And there's also some very practical reasons why permaculture moderates crisis. Flood and drought, those kinds of things, permaculture will actually moderate those as well. Permaculture can increase our health because by its design it makes nutrient-dense foods and it's cleaner and things like that. So we can increase our health of our families, communities. It increases the fertility of the land. Our land actually gets better over time, not worse. In commercial agriculture, we are constantly depleting the lands. Even in some of our approaches to gardening, for example, we are constantly bringing in inputs. And so therefore, we are actually degrading the land. We're making up for it by bringing stuff in. But in this case, with permaculture, we are increasing the soil fertility and therefore increasing the land fertility by these practices. So these are the potential benefits or reasons why permaculture. I like to explain and I like to compare different approaches to homesteading. And the reason I do that, especially when I'm talking to preparedness-minded people, is that to some degree, we should all be, quote-unquote, homesteaders. We should all grow some of our own food. It doesn't mean we have to grow all of our own food or raise all of our own animals. We should do some of that at least. And so if you're doing those things, in a way, you're a homesteader. If you're desiring to be self-sufficient, if you're desiring to live off the land to some degree, you're a homesteader. And so I talk about these different approaches to homesteading within the context of permaculture. So in the upper left-hand corner, we've got a picture of some pigs in the prototypical pig pen. Okay, this is what I would call the commercial approach to homesteading. Okay, so again, when I'm not saying commercial agriculture, I'm saying commercial approach to homesteading. That's the pigs go in the pig pen, and I go to the feed store and get my ton of food. I feed the feed store feed to the pigs, butcher the pigs, etc. That kind of approach. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think there's a better way. If we go to the upper right-hand corner, we see what I like to call the organic approach to homesteading. Again, not bad, but you're essentially on a natural treadmill, natural chemical treadmill. Okay, a lot of those are natural products, but you're still on this treadmill. Same thing with the commercial approach. You're generally on a treadmill of chemicals and feed from the feed store, etc. Both of these approaches usually are highly compartmentalized. So in other words, they've got their pigs in their pig pen. The chickens are over in the coop and run. The garden's in the garden, etc., etc. Same thing with the organic approach. All right, now, lower left-hand corner. This is what I call the preparedness-minded approach to homesteading. Food storage, water storage. I mean, this is the prepper mindset to quote-unquote homesteading. Now, am I saying that there's something wrong with food storage? Absolutely not. I think that every permaculturist should have food storage like this. This is a good thing, but it can't be our only thing. And then we go down to the lower right-hand corner. This is what I call a permaculture approach to homesteading. It looks kind of wild, but I guarantee you there's a lot of production in that picture. And again, it doesn't mean that I would recommend to a permaculturist to not be preparedness minded, to not have a food storage or water storage. Of course, you want to have those things. Again, this is the basis. Those things supplement this.